Hello and welcome everybody to this week's episode of Nerdflix and Chill, brought to you by We the Nerdy. I, of course, am Gary Theroux, and over there, you're quickly becoming the most interesting man in the world. I can't believe I didn't know this about you. It's a guy who's only living here in Canada because he says he killed a man in Louisiana in 1992. It's Sean
Kentucky.
Capri.
Kentucky.
Oh, it's
And
Kentucky.
I thought he was a fried chicken, and so I decided to stab him through the heart and then fry his skin. But I left him to die in the fryer. I don't know where this is going, but I want to say that I didn't eat the meat. I just ate the skin. It was the best part.
Terrific.
It was the best part of the Kentucky man from Kentucky.
And then quickly realized you had to, what had happened, and you had to move to the frozen tundra so no one would ever find you.
Indeed, where I thought there was no Kentucky Fried Chicken, so even if I told the story, people wouldn't believe me, but it turns out they know exactly what I'm talking about. And my cover was blown as soon as I came in, and they're like, no big deal, eh? Come on in.
So now when you say you want to eat there, do you tell people you want to go have some PFK?
I definitely do, and they understand that the gravy is the best part, and the skin, so it's all good. It's all in the name of good, clean murder.
Good, clean, wholesome family murder.
Family murder.
Can guys from Edmonton say that, considering Chris Benoit's? Yeah,
no, I don't think so. I think houses explode and husbands hang their wives. And
Yeah.
Okay, so how are you?
Wow, it's a dark opening.
All right.
Apparently that's what we're going with.
We're going down a dark place with dark movies today, Gary.
Yes, well, we've got some dark topics to go to, I guess, with the Deepwater Horizon being the new film that we're covering this week, and then what's supposed to be a dark movie that turns out to be a bright, shining beacon in everyone's lives, a little movie called Die Hard we're going to cover in this week's
Never heard of it.
Chill. We're also going to do some trailer talk, and our generous benefactor over there, Sean Capri, is announcing a super special giveaway for this week's premiere of 6 Degrees of Chill. He's got a steelbook copy of The Dark Knight on Blu-ray DVD that's going to go to the winner who suggested next week's 6 Degree of Chill movie, which we don't even know. Have you done it yet? And I just don't know, or do you not even know yet?
I know what it is, and I will tell you right now what came in second place.
What's that?
Howard the Duck. It was so close.
I told Corey it was his day on Facebook today. I told Corey it was happening.
It was I assign a random number to everybody's. It's a 13-digit number, and it's completely random. And then I sort largest to smallest, and Howard the Duck was number 2. Very, very close. It lost by 1/1000th.
2-hole.
Very close. But yes, I should retroactively fit the steelbook that we're giving away into my murder joke earlier. I use this to first knock my victim unconscious before dipping him into the deep fryer.
It's the steel. Yes, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
It actually doubles as a weapon.
Yes, it
Or a
doubles as a
batarang.
weapon. So enjoy that. Please don't sue us. We have no money, so really don't bother. But we have a lot to get to today, namely trying to limit the amount of time where I gush over Die Hard in the second to last segment of this show. So why don't we dive right in to this week's trailer talk. We saw 2 new trailers before Deepwater Horizon that we haven't discussed on the show before. We're going to tell you whether to see it or skip it, and we're going to guess the Rotten Tomatoes score. Right before we do that, Sean, how about you give us an update on where we are in the Rotten Tomatoes game, since we can now wrap up the month of September.
Oh
What
my
movies
god.
did we guess? What movies did we guess on in September, and how did the scores shake out?
This is really odd. I'm really liking this game, Gary. We're getting into the meat and potatoes of this. We've laid out all the groundwork. We've set out the cement. We've flattened it, or whatever the hell people do. We've put out the do not walk signs and let everything settle and dry. We can walk on it now and see who is the winner. It was a great month. We've had guesses here from episode 14. So
Holy jeez.
This is episode 24. These are going way, way back. One of the movies... Sorry.
That's like 2.5 months ago we made a guess that paid off this month.
I actually don't think that there is a physical way to measure how long ago that was. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But you know this already.
Absolutely. I'm going to stop mathing right now.
No more mathing. We had 3 movies that we had guessed for September. They were Deepwater Horizon, Sully, and Masterminds, coming in on episodes 14, 15, and 17, respectively.
Ooh.
Let's do this, Gary. So I'm actually going to go backwards from what I just listed. We're going to go Masterminds, which neither of us had a chance to see. We were very, very excited by the potential of the cast here. Do you remember what this one was? This was Kristen Wiig. It was Zach Galifianakis, Jason Sudeikis, and there's some friendly murder in that there as well. Good wholesome murder.
Good wholesome murder. Yep.
Happening along there. And okay, so I was a little more excited about this. I had guessed 70. You had guessed 63. Do you have any idea how this did?
I haven't looked. I'm many things. Cheater is not one of them. We leave that to our friend Tyler Boyque at cheating.
Oh.
So I have not looked.
Well, I mean, you can't argue with facts. So there you go. Rotten Tomatoes is 34.
Ooh, snap.
I did not see it coming.
By Price is Right rules, do I get closer? That's got to be good for Team Gary.
Definitely a good start for Gerald. This next movie, Sully, is a movie. Did you ever get a chance to see it? You were away. You were flying.
I did. I watched it when I came back because I have that much respect for Tam Honks and for Clint Eastwood, and I viewed it. That's my review. I saw it.
Okay, so we were both pumped about this. Tam Hanks, whatever the hell he said, that was really clever.
He's been in a couple movies. He's been in a couple movies, but yeah, I think he's going to have a career. He looks pretty good.
Clint Westward directing. So I had guessed 95. You guessed a little lower, 92. I'm surprised, even after reviewing this. Rotten Tomatoes comes in at 83. A little soft, in my opinion.
At least we're in the ballpark. We knew there was going to be well reviewed, and we at least hit that part of it.
Certified fresh. So you're still in the lead. I need Deepwater Horizon, the movie that we saw this week, to save me. It's coming down to this. Back on episode 14, I had guessed 86. I was very excited. I like me some Marky Mark, and I like me some anything that is even remotely tied to Armageddon. This is close enough. Just a little oil drilling in the harshest environments in the world. The Gulf of Mexico, of course, everybody knows. It's a terrible environment. Gary, you suggested it would do a little lower, 74, and Rotten Tomatoes came in at 83. I was 3 off of an exact guess, which would have changed this game.
Well done, my friend. Nice.
Final scores: Sean Capri 51, Gary 47 of close lower being better. So you are the winner by 4 points. If I got Deepwater Horizon right, I would have docked my score 5 points, and I would have won by a single point. That's how close this game can get. That's why we got to bring it 110% for October.
So what steelbook / murder weapon do I get for winning the month of September?
You get to... How about let's see, what do we got behind me? I've got Death by Black Hole and Other Cosmic Quandaries by Neil deGrasse Tyson. You can have my softcover nerd book here. I got this for Christmas last year. I'm almost done it. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm about halfway through, so you can have it when I'm done.
Yeah, sometime late in 2017.
My gently used space book. You can learn what would happen if you drilled a hole through the middle of the Earth and then jump down. I don't know. What do you think would happen?
I have no idea. You would have visions like Clockwork Orange that would end up being the movie Masterminds in front of you as you fell, and then you'd be like, "Hey, look, it's Aaron Eckhart in a bad movie from 2006."
I actually think you'd fall into Homer 3D.
Nice, yes. Terrific plane of existence. Okay, well, you're right. I really love this game, and the fact that, like you say, we made guesses 2.5 months ago that are just paying off now, and we can figure out how we're doing. And so let's lay some more groundwork for future episodes. We saw 2 new trailers this week that we have to discuss. The first being a movie called Gold, starring Matthew McConaughey as a ambitious fuck-up, you might say, who is looking to change his lot in life and decides he's going to traverse the world in search of a gold claim.
Oh, I thought he was selling AIDS drugs.
Yeah, different film.
Okay.
So it looks interesting. It looks like a modern take on a Scarface-ish tale of a man sort of driven to a ridiculous point by his own ambition. It looks interesting to me. I would definitely say see it. You guys should check out this preview on Apple Trailers or whatever you watch previews. It looks interesting, and I think we're getting a lot of polarizing opinions because I think a lot of people, like me, will be sort of hesitant to go all in on this movie just based on the fact that it seems a lot like an Oscar grab.
Yeah.
I thought he got his Oscar. He could stop doing this, but with his bad teeth and bad haircut and sort of look at me, I'm a gorgeous movie star trying to pretend like I'm not super handsome. This everything short of gaining 125 pounds for a role it looks like he did for this. So I'll say see it, but I'm a little hesitant. So I've got a guess for the Rotten Tomatoes game, but I'll let you give your general opinions. See it or skip it on the gold.
Okay, so we were lucky enough to watch Deepwater Horizon this week next to each other. It was very romantic. So thank you for that. I had a lovely time. Hope we can do it again. We both laughed out loud at the first image of Matthew McConaughey in this. He's absolutely disgusting and literally comically so. Like, I don't know if this is a good look at it, not just the fact that he looks hideous, but I don't know if this is working for me. The look of him, the story of this movie, that the type of movie that this is. We got burnt on War Dogs earlier this year. Like this living in excess, like reaching for the stars and getting burned by the sun type of story hasn't really been panning out. Maybe Leo's the only guy who can do this anymore. I was laughing for all the wrong reasons. I'm on the opposite end of this. I think I'm going to skip it, especially the time that this is coming out, December 20th. There's going to be certain stars are at war or something like that happening in and around the same time. I will be seeing other things. I'll be waiting on reviews to come in on this one. I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit and go right down the middle and go 50.
So I think your 50 is very interesting, and
I was playing you. This is bullshit.
I agree with all your mind games and stuff like that. I am interested.
You're playing the mind games.
It was not a mind game. I legitimately think, for those of you who don't know why Sean's freaking out, I type in my score as soon as he says the words on his, so he knows I wasn't reacting off of him. I'm guessing 38.
You need to start writing these
less
on
than
like
his
a post-it
50%.
or something.
The reason being, I'll see it because it looks like a big swing. It looks like they're really going for it here, and it's a really ambitious, big story. The job of this game is to sort of predict how the critics will receive it, and I feel like the problem with these is I don't think there's a middle ground for this. I see 50, 60, 65, those types of scores as not sort of an outcome that's plausible for a movie like this, because I think it's going to be a love it or a hate it. I almost feel like I have to say 85 or 35, and everything in between. If I'm right about what I'm seeing on screen, it's a really ambitious run at a movie, and in this case, I just think everything you said about laughing for the wrong reasons and not the filmmakers not really getting it, I agree. And even though I'm willing to see it, I'm hesitant. So 38 from me, 50 from Sean. The next preview we saw to keep this moving forward is a preview for a movie called Hacksaw Ridge, starring Spider-Man, the second version, not the third version and not the first version.
Also the co-founder of Facebook.
Garfield, co-founder of Facebook, in a period piece about going to war as a pacifist and your beliefs, sticking strong to your beliefs. He will not carry a gun into war, this gentleman. He wants to be a doctor and go serve overseas, but he will not carry a gun. He will not shoot anybody. He is just there to help the wounded. And it's a real Jackie Robinson, like, these guys don't want me here tale about a pacifist. Directed
Jackie
by
Robinson story about a white guy.
Yeah, exactly. Andrew Garfield's doing a terrible, Southern American accent, not South American, the Southern United States, maybe even a Kentucky murder victim accent, and he goes off to war, and it's a story of heroism, and there's some dramatic music and some foes turning into friends and friends turning into foes, and protagonist maybe has some type of conflict.
You and I are more alike than we ever had imagined.
And it was directed by the unnamed director of Braveheart, because that's how you help sell a movie, is don't tell people Mel Gibson is involved. It's called Hacksaw Ridge, and I will say see it. As corny as this may be, and as bad a person as he may be, I sort of trust Mel Gibson to tell these epic stories, because he's shown an ability to do it in the past. And I feel like you tug at the right heartstrings and you might end up with a good movie here. So I'm saying see it, and I have my number locked in my brain. As soon as you start saying numbers, I'm going to type it in. What do you think of Hacksaw Ridge? See it or skip it?
You are taking this game to another level today, sir. I have no idea where you are with this. It is impossible for me to talk about playing position. Oh my god. This is why we don't play poker with each other anymore, because I can't outbeard the beard, whatever the hell that means. There's so much going for this. You're right. We have seen the unnamed director do very nice things before, and I don't hate and I don't love Andrew Garfield the cat. And it's like this. The thing about this trailer is that it shows pretty much every beat of it. Like there is really, you're gonna watch this movie. It's gonna be a 2-hour version of the trailer that you saw. We see like what his motivations are, like what he's gonna do, why he's doing it, and then we watch him do it, succeed, and kind of we have the moment where he's changing everybody's perspective of him. So I'm not sure what else there is going to be other than maybe some gore, and I don't know that necessarily that makes or breaks movies these days as it used to. Like when we saw Saving Private Ryan for the first time, we couldn't believe what we were seeing. So it's just hard to imagine like what ground this is going to be breaking for us to be completely wowed, and by us I mean top critics, Gary.
Yeah, we need to get affiliated or something.
A couple more of these, and I'm sure we'll be right there. A couple more of those shares on the 6 Degrees of Chill. We're gonna be right up there. This is a tough one, and only because I don't know what the hell you're gonna. You really threw me with making fun of.
Make up your own mind, bro.
Okay, what do you? Oh, can I phone a friend at this point? Can I call? Can I call?
No lifelines. No lifelines.
We talked about this. I can't even remember what. I think we were both hot on it back then. This could be a bomb, which is a really good pun too. Let's do. I think you're. I don't know what you're gonna do, Gary. This is people are just seeing my mind come unravel. I'm 42, Gary. 42.
No, I put my score in the wrong place. It's over there under the Deepwater Horizon line.
I like this. Okay.
I went super high. We're definitely gonna make or break our month of January 2017 on that one. Sean came in at 42 as his guest for that trailer. I'm saying 81% on Hacksaw Ridge. I think there's a good chance.
You played me so good.
I think there's a good chance that Mel Gibson is going to get a little bit of redemption on this, and he'll find out that people don't care that he made a decent movie. He's still a giant piece of shit. So we're going to get some separation in the month of January with 42 and 81 respective guesses. So I can't wait for that to pay off.
I want to play back, when we get to January, I want to play back this clip. Like I would actually, if there's some like dedicated fan out there who could just like pick these little pieces apart for us and send them, that I will put them into the episode. Like that would be incredible. Just a quick reminder what the hell we were thinking when we made these guesses, because then we review them weeks and weeks later, or episodes later is actually the yardstick that we're using. And then, like, I don't remember what the heck made me. Who knows? If Thane and I were playing this game, I probably would have guessed 85. I don't know. I don't remember what I said. I just record this stuff. Gary,
we'll have to go into those YouTube and iTunes archives and go listen to old episodes. Maybe it was before you started time tagging stuff. And by the way, while we're on the subject of going back and listening to old episodes and time tags and things we've added this episode, keep your suggestions coming. So many of the things we've added or changed about the show over the time we've been doing it, which is crazy that we're coming up on half a year we've been doing this already. It comes from you guys, right? What do you want to hear? What could we extend? What could we shorten? Do you want me to shut the fuck up? Do you want Thane back? What are you guys? What are your suggestions for improving the show? We're always happy to hear them. So at Gary2Movies on Twitter, at Sean Capri on Twitter, or comment on our Facebook pages or through any other service in which you follow this show. We really appreciate it.
LeaveAComment on WeTheNerdy.com.
Let's do it. So, in the interest of continued forward momentum, we're going to talk about this week's new film we went and saw. That was Deepwater Horizon, starring one, I don't know how to pronounce this, Marg Wahlberg?
It's a soft R. It's a soft R.
It's Mark Wahlberg, directed by Peter Berg. Kurt Russell's also in this. John Malkovich plays the de facto
Cyrus
head
the Virus.
Of this story. Cyrus the Virus, but older and duller.
BP version. Yeah, he retires from a life of crime to work at BP.
Yeah, exactly. So, for those of you who don't know the Deepwater Horizon story, it really is. It's so recent, right? It's a dramatization of the April 2010 disaster, when the offshore drilling rig Deepwater Horizon exploded and created the worst oil spill in U.S. history. I don't think it's a spoiler to say it might help you guys to know that it does not really cover the spill portion, the fallout, the environmental impact. This is a smaller story about what happened on the rig and the heroism of the men who worked and died on the rig and the survivors as well.
Yep.
Really good scores. As Sean said, 83% from critics for this, as it just paid off in the Rotten Tomatoes game. 88% from fans.
Yep.
And I think that's a really, really positive review overall for a movie that, for me, just to give my general opinion of the thing, was more, I don't know,
you're gonna hate on
safer. It seems safer to me. And I mean, I understand, we've explained on the show before how Rotten Tomatoes is an aggregation of scores rather than saying this is an 83 or an 88% rating out of 100 for this movie. It's just that many people liked it. And I think we've discussed movies before where it's not necessarily a great movie, but there's nothing to dislike here. And that's what I felt this was. It was not objectionable. It seemed very true to life. If you've seen a story of survival or perseverance or heroism based on a true story before, and you've seen and you've heard anything about this actual event in history, you're covered. You know what you're getting in for, and it's well executed and it's competent.
Yep.
And it's decently shot. The special effects were actually probably above average.
Agreed.
It's an interesting story without really having anything to swoon over. So
You're
I'm wondering
so
what you thought.
flat on it, though. Like, it's unbelievable to me that you're just like, whatever. I feel like this movie, Peter Berg makes such tremendous decision-making, and he shows a lot of restraint here because things could have gotten out of hand. This could have turned into kind of a more typical ridiculous disaster movie. It could have been really over the top in terms of the environmental aspect. We got enough of BP being really the villain or any of the employees being like the quote-unquote villain of the story. But it felt like it wasn't too ham-fisted, and it definitely could have. So there at every corner of the movie, things could have really fallen apart, and I just give a lot of kudos to the directing team that it didn't, that it really was just about, like, the focus was on the characters and on the family. And I want to just do a real quick, this is not really a spoiler, but these are the real people. Like, the characters in the movie are supposed to be the playing the characters, or the people who are on Deepwater Horizon. So the character that Mark Wahlberg plays, Mike, and I should remember his name, Mike Williams, was a dude on the Deepwater Horizon. He had a wife who was also blonde, just like Kate Hudson. The movie ends, and it flips from all of the beautiful Hollywood people and shows us who really was on the Deepwater Horizon. And I'll tell you who Mike Williams wasn't married to. He was not married to Kate Hudson. We'll just leave it at that. And it was
harsh but true.
Nice little giggle for us on the way out of the theater. We laughed at Matthew McConaughey on the way in, and we laughed at juxtaposition on the way out.
That's what we laughed at. Yes, not at anyone's physical appearance.
Yes, hilarious juxtaposition.
Yes, absolutely.
You mentioned special effects. I thought were fantastic. I miss this style of destruction, of explosions that look real, that look like they would do some damage, that look like they would blow you against the wall, and that would set a ring in your ears and kind of ruin your day. I felt like that was good. The heroism that we see in this movie is kind of like a new age style of heroism that we're seeing in these types of movies, where it's almost thankless and it's way more meaningful. It's way more real than, you don't really get these moments of like a dog jumping through a wall of flames or anything like that. You get something close to it, but there's no slow-mo, really cheesy moments of I'm going to be the hero. We get something that's a little close to that, but I thought that was handled actually pretty well. And another thing just about the characters, I thought that this was really a cast of characters rather than a set of caricatures of, like, your stereotypes. You kind of get close to that, but these are more rounded. This does feel like, when you're on the Deepwater Horizon, that this is a crew who has worked together for a long time. They know each other, they trust each other, and so when things go wrong, the movie doesn't fall apart. It really relies on the interaction, the chemistry that all these people have together. That, again, I could go on and on, but these are some of the things that really stood out to me of why I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. I like Kurt Russell did a very competent and admirable job as the sort of father figure, the boss on the rig, the safety officer, who sort of gives some foreshadowing to the things that are going to go wrong by his level of concern.
Yep.
I don't know where I've seen Gina Rodriguez before, but she plays a character called Andrea that is very, very interesting, and her relationship with Marky Mark is really interesting too. And I've loved Ethan Suplee since like Mallrats when he was staring at a Magic Eye poster.
He's done well for himself.
He's made a hell of a career. He makes these bit parts, and I mean, I think of him in like he spent all that time on My Name Is Earl not doing movies, but he was in Unbreakable, which is just sort of a fun throwaway movie, and he's a character actor, right? He's I don't know if he's ever really had a starring role, and I don't imagine he ever will, unfortunately, but I think you gotta have a lot of respect who just keeps out knocking a guy who keeps on knocking out really, really high-end work all the time. And so the characterization here is what really stands out. I think Pete Berg did a really good job of giving equal time to the characters talking to each other and living life, and not just concentrating his camera constantly on a ball of flame or a pressure gauge, because there is a fair amount of that built into this. I'm just curious if my indifference to this movie comes down to the fact that it's a little bit forgettable for me, in that when people mention Deepwater Horizon to me in the future, I am going to think of the actual Deepwater Horizon and the news coverage more than this movie. This was just... So now I'm going to think of the news coverage, but with Marky Mark's face all over it. Like, there was nothing here, because they were true and honest and just did a retelling. Am I never going to really put this movie up there as in the pantheon of great true stories, right?
Yeah.
And if I had to guess as to why I feel that way, it might just be a recency thing, where should we really be doing true stories of heroism that are 6 years old?
Right. You think you want a little more separation. And that was my feeling right when the trailer came out. I'm like, really? We're doing this already?
Yeah, like
the 9/11 movies, too.
9/11 movies, 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. Pete Berg and Mark Wahlberg's next effort.
Zero Dark 30.
Zero Dark 30, too, but Patriots Day, about the Boston Marathon bombings. These two are getting back together and doing this again.
Yeah.
And this gives you a real good sense of what you're going to see there. You're going to get a dramatic retelling of the lives of the people that were there that day, but it's just a story you know and have seen in a easy-to-consume Hollywood 2-hour wrapper, and I wonder if that is going to sort of keep it back from the level of that these movies tend to get to in our minds, Oscar-worthy movies, super memorable,
right?
Like a war story almost, right?
Yeah.
This doesn't, for me, this movie doesn't have any of that heft. Doesn't have any of that consequence. It just feels like a passion project that was put out. That was, like I say, competent and good. I would say see it. If I had to put a number on it, I'd give it 3.5 out of 5. There's just nothing that jumps off the screen as memorable to me that would make me tell someone, oh, you haven't seen Deepwater Horizon yet? You got to get out there. I just don't have that feeling about it. I don't know about you.
Yeah, there's nothing really universal about an oil rig disaster. Like, it's not really anything that anybody can relate to. So that's probably why.
Yeah, Grandpa didn't go to work at that same oil rig back in the day.
No, especially here. You're well situated in on land. But anyway, that's a whole other story. I liked it quite a bit more. I felt like the fact that it was a real situation and that you know what eventually was going to happen made the lead up even more intense. I thought that they did it really well of if they just didn't do this or if they just avoided this was clearly preventable, or at least to some degree this was preventable, and it has you just going like, oh, I just wish this didn't happen. And then when it does, the release is intense and it never lets up. I felt like this was actually paced quite differently than movies of its ilk. So I actually would give this a very enthusiastic 4 out of 5. But I think based on your, just as we discovered that this isn't really relatable, it is a difficult one to say, like, get your kids to a babysitter so you can go see this. It's not really there, but I had a really great time watching this.
Yeah.
And it was in good company, Gary.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you can have those thigh rubs anytime you want there, buddy.
Now it is on record.
So, with that said, we'll move on to this week's 6 Degrees of Chill. For those of you who know me well, it's a big day for me. I've been waiting for this episode. This movie is the reason why I am in a position to do something like this. It's what I've wanted to do, is talk about movies like my favorite movie of all time. That, of course, is Die Hard, starring the one and only Bruce Willis, who I've taken a few shots at over the last couple episodes. And I will
what the hell, Gary?
I will just say, before we get into the 6 Degrees of Chill segment,
let's do the intro. Let's do the intro bit here.
Before we do the intro, I just want to say, this is not the point where Bruce Willis started acting poorly. Bruce Willis is acting his dick off in this movie.
This is where he started acting
really good. He's excellent in this movie. So I hope that we might be moving on from Bruce Willis in 6 Degrees of Chill, just because I think that would make 4 weeks in a row if we get another Bruce Willis movie. And not that there's a problem with that, but we can diversify a bit. But I will have to continue my search for the moment when Bruce Willis just decided, okay, I just need to play a version of John McClane for the rest of my career.
Yes. So what are we doing here, Gary? 6 Degrees of Chill.
So let's do the intro. So 6 Degrees of Chill, for those of you who don't know, is a segment where we talk about an older movie from our DVD collections or Netflix or an on-demand service or something like that that's recommended to us by you, the listener. And we're going to talk about the beginning and the middle and the end, and we're going to spoil it. We're going to take you through it, maybe beat by beat, maybe not. It all depends. The conversation is going to be organic that way. But we're going to talk about Die Hard, of course, this week. As I said, we like to get our reviews out of the way so you know where we're coming from before we start tearing the thing to bits. Die Hard is 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, 94% from critics. I'd like to have a personal conversation with everybody who didn't like this movie. Y'all can suck my dick.
And totally. Who are you? What is wrong with your life? What did your mother do to you? How many times were you dropped on the head? I mean, I don't understand how you even have a living. You make a living criticizing movies, and you don't like Die Hard. You don't even like. Not only do you just not love it, but you actively dislike it.
Exactly. I've heard people say, I disagree with you, Gary. This isn't the best movie ever. And while those people are wrong, I can understand their position and listen to those people.
Yep.
But to say objectively, I just didn't like it, it wasn't an enjoyable experience for me, makes no sense no matter where you're coming from. So this is where I normally put the synopsis for the movie, but if you don't know what Die Hard is about, or have never heard of it, or have never seen it and don't know what we're talking about, you shouldn't be listening to this podcast. I will actively, I will give you guys a chance to jump out now, as this might not be the show for you.
Just hit pause and go watch it. So if you don't want to do that, I'll give the synopsis right here. So if this is a series of extreme sporting events like base jumping, and the objective is actually to die harder than your competitors. And the interesting thing is, basically, if you do win a medal, it's just like your carcass that somebody else dumps off of a wheelbarrow. Barrow
with a W.
Barrow onto a podium. And then they just sort of throw a gold medal onto your rotting corpse. That's Die Hard,
honor,
folks.
like Heath Ledger. That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, reviews-wise, okay, you know my answer. Out of 5 stars, I give this all
6.
the stars.
Yeah.
Right? I give this as many stars as you can find. It's the best movie ever. It's the best Christmas movie ever.
Neil deGrasse Tyson will tell you how many stars there are to give.
Exactly. It's the most unbelievably perfect movie ever. So what's your star rating for this movie?
This movie has to be a 5. The world is a better place because of Die Hard. I truly believe that. Whether or not it holds up as strongly as it did the day that it came out, I feel like that may be up for debate. Maybe that's where some people can. That's not where I'm coming from, but maybe that's where some people might come from. Because there's a little bit of cheese here. There's some characters that are really terrible, but it's fine because it's Die Hard. But ultimately, this movie gave us a new flavor of action movie. It gave us a new way to appreciate ridiculous explosions and over the top action without getting. It was a homegrown American this time. You don't have the Arnold Schwarzenegger, you don't have the Jean-Claude Van Damme, and even though he had Sylvester Stallone, he sounded like he wasn't from here. So We got some good old-fashioned Americana with Die Hard. Again, I truly believe the movie world is a better place because of this. It set a new standard and definitely a 5 out of 5. How can it not be?
I
And
agree.
this is interesting because now that we're in 2016, every time we think of terrorists, we have a picture in our mind. We just have to go back to Die Hard and go, well, isn't that interesting to call a German a terrorist? That is super different. Quite like that.
Well, I'm glad your enthusiasm
Very
is as high
unique
as it is.
cast
I
the
would love
Germans
to have
like
an argument
this.
with someone who didn't like this movie, but I figured that'd be hard to find. But yeah, you talk about just briefly touching on its importance. I know you were being a little bit facetious there, but a little
Not
bit sincere
really.
in the sense that, yeah, in a little bit sincere in the sense that, how many movies do you think since 1988 have been pitched as Die Hard on or Die Hard in or just a retread of this story, right? If you want, you can go watch Die Hard on a bus, you can go watch Die Hard on a boat, you can go watch Die Hard on a plane, you can watch Die Hard in a lot of places, right? Because this movie happened, you get the unconventional hero who wasn't even supposed to be
Not
here
even
today.
supposed to be here today.
Who overcomes it all,
Yep.
right? And some of them, they're
Even a
always
thinning
going to be a
hairline.
retread. Yes, a thinning hairline, right? No shoes, some quips that work, some
An
quips that
average
don't.
at best bicep and bod. And
At best, average, right? Like a real rough relationship with your wife, and possibly with the understanding of the dynamics of a marriage. But all of these things don't change the fact that this movie is one of the most enjoyable experiences you will have sitting down and watching a movie. I know I used the home theater experience here in my place of residence for the first time in a while. I wanted to immerse myself in this. I just had a couple questions for you before we get into the movie.
Let's do
take them
questions.
apart before we go too far.
All right.
One, have you ever seen Die Hard at a movie theater?
no, but I'm gathering that you have, and I'm very jealous.
An absolute treat. About 2 years ago, Cineplex does
Of
their
course you have.
Cineplex does their digital movie festivals where they play classic movies in the theaters. And when I heard about this, every year for about 4 years, I
Yeah.
was like, "Is Die Hard one of them? Is Die Hard one of them?"
Yeah.
Because they play movies like Jurassic Park and The Matrix and things that would be fun to see in the theater again.
Right.
And one
Again,
year,
right.
exactly. And one year in the theater, it was Die Hard. I think
I
it was
just picture you
2014.
pushing kids out of the way, even though they're waiting in line for Monsters Inc. or something like their Toy Story. Get out of the way! Die Hard's playing.
I was positively giddy. It
Yeah.
was like Christmas morning. It was in an unbelievable state.
Powerbombing
So
9-year-olds
the other
on the way to
thing
the theater.
I wanted to ask you about was, and I gave you some forewarning. We were talking about this before we started recording here. Just how many times you've seen your favorite movie, in terms of whether it's your favorite movie or just a movie you've watched the most times. Because obviously I have a preloaded answer for Die Hard.
Okay, so I feel like I'm glad you asked me this before because it gave me a little time to mull this over. And I don't really have a solid answer on most movies. Like we were saying, Zoolander, Super Troopers, Wayne's World 1 and 2, Ace Ventura, all those comedies back in the day we watched over and over and over again. I don't have a number. It's dozens of times.
Yes.
The one movie that I do have a hard number for, and I don't know if this is high or not, but it's notable for me anyways, and people should let me know what movie they've seen most times in the theater. I have an answer for that, which is Armageddon, which I saw 7 times in the theater.
Fantastic. That's
I
a real impressive
love
number.
that movie. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a lot. I feel like people saw Star Wars, The Force Awakens, at least 7 times, or a lot of the Lord of the Rings, or Titanic. I know you saw at least 13 times. A baker's dozen.
No, the answer for me for theater actually isn't even this movie, because obviously 1988, I was 4 years old, was not allowed to go see Die Hard. Although had I known it existed, I would have harassed my parents quite a bit. But no, in the theater, actually, my answer would be Ocean's 11. When Ocean's 11 came out, the Toonie Theater was still a thing.
Classic, yeah.
And we were just underage. I think we were 16 or 17 when that movie came out.
Yep.
And couldn't go where we wanted on the weekends. So a lot of times it would be, let's go see Ocean's 11 at the Dollar Theater and then figure out what we're going to do tonight. So, yeah, I think I saw Ocean's 11 times.
Nice.
But my answer for Die Hard in terms of home video and all the times I've just sat down and watched it, and I'm not including times where I popped on it for 15 minutes and didn't finish.
Yeah.
I think I've seen Die Hard somewhere in the neighborhood of 125 times.
It's amazing.
And because if you do the math on that, since I discovered it like a decade ago, that's really only watching it like once a month. And I easily do that. Like, that's an actual thing.
Amazing.
So
I don't love anything that much. I don't even love my dogs that much.
No,
I don't think so.
I hope you find it one day.
I have no way of quantifying that. I feed them twice a day, but so I feel like that's not really the same.
But now you as the listener can understand why last week when we discovered that this was going to movie, I said, we don't have to watch it. We can just do the scene by scene right now. So anyways, we've talked a lot this episode about keeping it moving forward. We got a lot to talk about. I'm curious where your notes start and what you thought. Give me your first couple notes over the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie, maybe.
Okay, so, oh man, I skipped over the part about this movie came out in July of 1988, July 28, 1988, was made for $28 million and grossed 137, very modest. So a little...
That's pretty nice ROI, though.
Definitely. If only we could do the same. I don't know what that is adjusted for inflation. One of my first notes is that this is obviously a Christmas movie. There's no debate about it.
Thank you, my friend. We're
whistling, we're humming to ourselves, we got Christmas tunes kind of going on, and this is just kind of like setting the tone of how hilarious, and like, it's almost skippable. Like, if you take out the fact that Christmas is happening at the time, it's the same movie. The terrorists are not there because of Christmas. They're not going to do what they're doing because of Christmas. Like, it has nothing to do with anything. You just see a couple trees get knocked over and some Christmas carols in the background. And I love that addition. I almost wish, like, you can't do that anymore. It's almost like the Hunt for Red October thing where they had the translation where you're foreign, you go to the mouth and you zoom out, you're now in English. You can't do this anymore. You can't have it just like happen to occur during the Christmas season.
Yeah, it would have to be themed that way for previews and for marketing or something like that, and released in December. So totally. I thought it was a wonderful touch, and I think it cements its status as a Christmas movie for haters.
You know, this thing actually also reminded me a little bit of the Towering Inferno, where there's like the office party and there's like inter-office relations happening completely like inappropriate, but I guess that's just what happens. I mean, I married somebody I met at work, so that falls in line, I suppose. We have a wide variety of nationalities. We got the stereotypical Japanese boss who's working for like someone, I guess it's unnamed, this company that Holly works for. And
it's the Nakatomi Corporation who owns Nakatomi Towers.
Like, perfect. You're like, you say Nakatomi, like,
we say Nakatomi. Nice.
Why am I talking? You do this.
Well, I'll just say, just so we can both get all our notes out, because I'm sure we made a ton on this. Like, I agree.
My note was Gary will do the talking on that.
I made a note. One of the first notes I made was, yes, those are sleigh bells you hear in the very first minute, along with a Christmas tree and Merry Christmas being said in the first 90 seconds of this movie. It's absolutely a Christmas movie. But we open with John McClane on his way to California. And John McClane does not like flying, and this guy sitting next to him gets it, right? They're on the same page. He's been through it all before. But what I really notice about the opening of the movie is not sort of the scene or the progress of what's going on. It's the parts that date this movie, right? So he's on a plane. One of the first things he does, reaches above his head to grab his luggage. You see his gun. He's got a gun on a plane. The guy notices and gets scared for a second, and he goes, "Don't worry, I'm a cop." And everything's okay. Apparently in the 80s, if you say you're a cop, the guy's like, okay, you're a cop. Carry a gun wherever you want.
See, that's where, like, fact-checking really needs to be important. Because, like, we don't really know, and nobody's really going to tell us. But it was in a movie, so it must be real.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Like, who knows if that was how it was?
Absolutely. So he's got his gun on the plane.
Yep.
He steps off the plane.
Yep.
Immediately off the jetway in the airport, lights a cigarette because it's time to smoke. And why wouldn't you smoke in the airport?
As one did.
And I love that stuff that dates a movie. The office sex is the same way. I noted when we get to the party. The limo was
similar as well. He hops in the limo, and the driver is telling him all the crazy gadgets that they've got in this thing. They've got a telephone. They've got VHS. This thing is like top of the line. And I just like it.
CB.
CB radio. Like, you have to make sure that you say it has CB. Why would a limo have, and I don't know if that's what limos had at the time, but you have to make sure that this guy's got access to the same radio that they're going to be using throughout the entire movie, this broadcast system of everybody telling each other what the plan is. So there's no getting a secret attack happening because it's all on CB radio.
Brilliant throwaway line at the beginning that pays off later. And then
this is where people pick your movie apart, though, by the way.
That's perfectly fine. Pick it apart.
I'm just saying.
There's so many. That's why I think this movie's perfect, because you can enjoy this movie ironically. Like, it is, but all its flaws are charming, right?
It's like, almost like they knew everything that they were going out of their way to make mention of was going to be hilarious in 25 years.
Yeah, the flaws on Die Hard are like Cindy Crawford's mole. It's like, yeah, it's all good, right? Do whatever you want. It's all good stuff.
You're saying that mole is hilarious?
that mole is eminently forgivable.
It was a joke in the Austin Powers movies later.
Moly. So anyways, in terms of dating the movie too, when Holly's talking to her secretary, and she tells the secretary to go enjoy the party. And the secretary gets up. She's like 8.5 months pregnant. She's like, "You think the baby can handle a sip tonight?" And she's like, "That baby's ready to tend bar. You want to drink while you're pregnant? It's the 80s. Go to town. Do whatever you want." So I love those kitschy little things. I wonder how they would have played at the same time. But you sort of tell early on we're going to have a fun little experience. When he shows up at the building, so John McClane flies to California, gets in a limo with Argyle, is coming towards the building. We've been introduced to the people in the party a little bit. Holly Gennaro's up there. He gets into the base of the Nakatomi Towers, and the doorman directs him to check the directory for where his wife will be.
Oh, yeah, some more great technology.
So he says, "Oh, a cute toy." He's got a touchscreen computer with an alphabetical directory. I have the dating issue, like where you're dating this movie quite harshly by being like, "Oh, this is modern technology." But my bigger issue with that scene is as soon as he finds her and says 30th floor, the doorman's like, "Yeah, they're the only people in the building. Go to the 30th floor." Why do you have to punch it in then, you asshole?
You got to check out the new touchscreen.
Yeah, check out the touchscreen and establish that she is not using her married name anymore. So I really, really like the first sort of introductory third of this movie in how they sort of take you through the cast of characters that are going to be trapped upstairs, including introducing Ellis, who's taking douchebaggery to like a real special place it's never been to before. Or since. And just establishing all the players. Even the bad guys get sort of creepy Christmas movie music when they start showing up. It's such a great setup for a movie. And we haven't even gotten to any action parts of this movie. We're still in the establishing phase. And yet, I don't know if this is my long-standing love for the movie shining through, but I'm kind of sort of giddy and grinning through all of this. Like, ooh, this shit's about to go sideways. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Well, definitely. You can. This is all set up. It's like a deck of cards that you're just waiting for somebody to fart on, and before you know it, it's like a deck of cards. It's a saying. It's a turn phrase.
Deck of cards. You're waiting for someone to fart on.
It's a turn phrase. It's the name of the episode.
Okay. All right, moving along. We can't dwell on that. Wow.
Yeah. So the Germans show up and they're mad at the Japanese, which is something that is completely overlooked, I think, too. Not really, but they come on in and they want a code from Tagaki. You pronounce this better than I do. Tagaki.
Yoshinobu Takagi.
Takagi.
Joseph Yoshinobu.
Wait a
Takagi.
minute. His first name is Joseph.
Joseph.
Is that his Christian name?
Yoshinobu.
Yoshinobu
Takagi is his name.
Yeah, so they crash the party. They take this guy aside, and they're looking for a code. He says he doesn't have it, and they shoot him in the face. They are not messing around.
Absolutely, and I mean it's an awesome sort of turn from what you've seen just a few minutes earlier when they invade the 30th floor party and they start shooting up the roof, and then Hans Gruber steps up in his immaculate suit, and he doesn't need to carry a weapon. Guy's got a fucking day planner, right? That's what he's holding to intimidate people with. And he stands there, and he goes through Yoshinobu Takagi's
it's hard.
Basically his Wikipedia page. He's reading down all the information you need to know about Mr. Takagi. and he's walking around looking for him, and he's so authoritative and intimidating. He almost makes Ellis piss himself just by reading Takagi's Wikipedia page as he's walking by interrogating him. And you think of how calm and cool and collected he is, and then when they go upstairs to interrogate him in the boardroom at his computer, and Takagi's trying to say, you can do whatever you want, kill me, you're going to have to kill me, you're not going to get it. And then he just goes, okay, and executes him, like between the eyes blows his head off. And now we're into an action movie, an R-rated action movie, because there's blood and brain matter all over that boardroom door. It's just, it's such a turn from this sort of calm and collected and suave villain that we've been introduced to in the first 20 minutes.
And you clearly, he sets the stage for the fact that he's a maniac, but he's also very intelligent, which is kind of the whole like underlying theme of this movie, is that you're in for a ride. There's going to be explosions, there's going to be over the top ridiculousness, endless clips of machine gun fire. But at the end of the day, the hero is he can read, he can speak, and so can the villain. So it kind of elevates the whole thing higher than just nonsense and needless killing, which I really like that. It was a different type of villain from Alan Rickman, rest in peace.
For sure. And not only that, but one of the other things I really like even at this point of the movie is McTiernan's directing. He is just basically keeping almost an omnipotent eye on everything. You're checking in with all the major players, right? So you've got Rickman. You know what Theoux's doing downstairs, starting to get to work with the computer code to get into the vault. You're checking with Argyle. He's in the basement. He apparently, for the entire duration of this evening, is listening to just one Stevie Wonder song. It's the same song, no matter how long he's been down in that limo. You're keeping an eye on Ellis, getting more and more nervous next to Holly. And it's just, he's sort of keeping you abreast of everything that's going around. And then you see Bruce. He's upstairs trying to figure out what to do. Again, not a hero, not here to save the day. He just managed to get away.
Not even wearing shoes, Gary.
No, just chilling like a villain, trying to figure out and you definitely identify and say, holy shit, what would you do in this situation? He's running upstairs, he's thinking about broadcasting.
We've established at this time that John McClane likes to speak out loud to himself, and he kind of has like this kind of witty banter that he has to himself, which is hilarious. That's important for when the action hits, and it doesn't seem out of character at that point when he starts to make witty jokes at himself. And the dialogue in this movie is really great. I feel like we probably could just spend this entire time dropping lines at each other of what's so great about this. I love, right after Alan Rickman, Hans Gruber executes Tagakiki, he goes, Tigakugu, Sushi, nailed it. Goes out to the crowd to let everybody know that he won't be joining us for the rest of his lifetime.
And it's just informing a crowd of 30 to 40 hostages that you just executed their friend and boss while casually enjoying some delicious hors d'oeuvres is just such a boss move from Hans. Like, I love him so much already.
What's more boss, though, is that, or was, I can't even remember what Ellis said to Holly right before this, but Holly is so cool about it. She watches this guy who's changed her life, given her a chance, and she watches him get shot in front of her, and she kind of like, they end the scene with her saying like, yeah, sure, tell that to Tigigi.
Yeah, because Ellis is saying like, if your husband doesn't gum up the works, we might be able to get out of here. These guys aren't going to do anything.
Yeah,
he says, tell that to Takagi, right? So no, she is not down with these bad guys. Ellis is just spineless, right? And so I like at this point in the movie, I was trying to watch it with fresh eyes and sort of realize that at this point he hasn't done anything heroic, right? So he goes upstairs a few floors to get away and try and figure out what he's going to do. He's sort of collecting himself. Yep. And that's when Carl's brother goes upstairs and discovers him up there, right? So now he's in a rumble with the guy who was sent to kill him. Mm-hmm. And he hasn't done anything yet that's really impressive, and he starts losing this fight to Carl's German brother, and he accidentally breaks his neck while rolling down the stairs, and it's just, he's all of us, right? You do the best you can, you hope you come out on top. And so he's killing guys, and then he's trying to run away, and he's taking a break to steal a second glance at a pair of titties that are on the wall, because he's a guy's guy, right? Like everyone would be like, "Ooh, boobies," right? You wouldn't be able to turn that part of your brain off. All of us, when we were watching it, were like, "Is that titties on the wall?" And then he stopped and looked at them, like, "Oh, titties on the wall."
Yeah.
And he comes back even later. He ends up in the same hallway, and he actually touches them. He's like, "Girls, nice to see you again." Right?
Amazing.
Like, he's an everyman in the best kind of way, right? And so he makes it onto the roof, and this is one of my favorite scenes, because, again, in terms of being an everyman and being all of us in this situation, he gets up to the roof to broadcast on an emergency channel. He screams Mayday at Mayday into a CB, and by some miracle,
Yes.
gets someone, a 911 operator, on the other side of the line.
Mm-hmm. A helpful operator, right?
Yeah, it must be. You would have thought, wrong, that is not what happens. She's an emergency operator who apparently gets a lot of crank calls that aren't emergency. Like, because he says there's terrorists, and I'm in trouble, and send the police, and she's like, dude, really, I don't have time for you tonight.
Yeah.
And he's flabbergasted. He's genuinely pissed and confused in a way that's like, I'm on an emergency line. This is an emergency. What the fuck do you think I'm doing ordering a pizza is what he screams at her. Why is she so difficult?
I don't know. Maybe he wasn't official. Maybe he wasn't ending. I don't remember. Was he ending every sentence with over?
He did not say over.
That was the mistake.
Might have cracked the code.
That was the mistake. You fixed that, and all of a sudden you got cops showing up. No problem. But instead, she doesn't believe him because he doesn't know proper CB radio etiquette. He doesn't know the trucker lingo.
Well, I'm with Bruce.
Drops a line like, well, no fucking shit, lady. Does it sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. This is like Ninja Turtles lines right here. This is so 90s.
And I'm with Bruce. I now want to kick this fictional character right in the clam. This woman is unbearable.
Yeah. That's, again, pointing out where people pick this movie apart. It's characters like that. They're so terrible, but entertaining.
And then she's like, fine. He says, send the cops then. If I'm wasting your time, send the cops to arrest me. Like, stop being such a fucking scrag.
Yeah.
And so she sends the cop. Uncle Carl, Reginald Vell Johnson, is picking up some...
It's not Uncle Carl.
From Family Matters. Yes, it is.
But he wasn't an uncle. It's Uncle Phil, and everybody does that. I knew you were going to do that. It's Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince. And it's just Carl.
It's just Carl.
He's just a dad.
Urkel doesn't call him Uncle Carl?
No.
He's not Urkel's uncle? Just neighbor.
I'm so glad you did this.
Urkel's just the neighbor?
Urkel just calls him Carl.
Just Carl.
Just like in The Walking Dead. Carl.
Okay, I'll take your word for it on that one. So, Reginald Vell Johnson, Carl, is picking up his wife some Twinkies at the convenience store, and he's the one black and white they're going to send. Mm-hmm. And even when he pulls up, we're not done with the bitch on the 911 line. She tells him, possible crank call. Keep an eye out for yourself, but, just go check it out. How do you still think it's a crank call? You had to take your earpiece off because of fucking gunfire. What did she think that was?
Maybe he tripped.
Maybe he tripped and shot a gun.
A
machine gun? Then at least there's a guy with a machine gun in Nakatomi Plaza.
Mm-hmm,
Fuck. Mm-hmm. Oh, so frustrating at this point. But it's scenes like that make this movie kind of fun, because, like, we're in the middle of a terrorist situation, and Reginald Vell Johnson's getting wise lip from the convenience store guy. And
he's walking down what does he walk? He's walking along, and he's kind of like humming to himself, and we get a little Christmassy thing here too, where he's like, the weather outside is frightful. Dum-de-dum, delightful.
He doesn't know the words. He just likes the season.
No.
Such a cheerful time of year.
He just likes the season.
Yeah, cheerful time of year.
Oh, God.
So he goes and checks it out, and they find him, and then they decide that the jig is up because Bruce Willis smartly tosses a dead body in his car. I mean, that's obviously the signal you would use to get the cops' attention. And so now we're in a shootout, and he turns his car into Swiss cheese, and now the cops are coming, and that's great, except when the cops show up, I don't know if you have anything between the introduction of Reginald Vell Johnson and when the fucking cops show up to try and go all commando and surge this building. But the next note I have is about cops, SWAT teams, charging a building but running through rose bushes and getting pricked on the hand, and like they have to stop and like,
Yeah, these were the wimpiest SWAT officers ever. Like, they're so not. I don't know if it was to show how tough John McClane is, but they've got these guys who have been training their whole lives for this moment, and they're so frilly. It is amazing. I'm so glad you noticed that. I wasn't sure if I was just maybe expecting too much out of these boys in blue, but good God, they were just wimps.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and the principal from the Breakfast Club and Van Wilder is a dick. And it's it's just so that we're all on John McClane's side against the police. Like,
that's
you have to show
totally it.
The boss cop is an asshole.
Yep.
The head of the SWAT team is just a dumb aggro jock.
Yep.
All the SWAT guys are too dumb to run around rose bushes.
Yeah.
Like, it just, I think that's all it is. We're supposed to be on,
it's like
on his
the Stormtrooper moment, if you ever see that, where he runs into he bashes his head, he bumps his head. Like, it's basically just like that, but they're not masked, so they have nowhere to hide. It's not far from here, actually, that we start referring to John McClane as a cowboy, and we get yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Or as it is translated on TBS, as neighbor Matt always points out to me, yippee-ki-yay, bad guy.
Bad guy. This movie is really fun to watch the censored version as well, if you ever get the chance.
Oh, but yes, and the Nightline News we get at this point as well. The news.
Eat it, Harvey!
I would love to meet this news team in real life. Like, this should have made an appearance in Anchorman, where they all attack each other. They've got the big battle. They should have had those people, as if people would even know who that's going to be. But hilarious. There's great extra features on the Blu-ray. You can go behind the scenes. You get extended footage of just the newscast. It is like they were just having such a good time with this. Okay, so they're all over CB, and John doesn't want to give away his name. This is the one part where he wants to hide his identity. This is a key role in it. He wants to be called Roy, and next thing we know, there are rocket launchers getting pulled out. We go from cowboys hiding identities, and all of a sudden, these Germans got rocket launchers, and they are pulverizing the SWAT team.
Well, because they know what's coming. They're prepared for everything. So while the cops are running through the rose bushes and getting pricked by the needles, the fucking bad guys are setting up rocket launchers and posting up with machine guns and eating chocolate bars. They're relaxed.
Yep.
They're just super chill, just hammering a Nestle Crunch bar, waiting for time to kill some cops. And they absolutely destroy them. The quarterback is toast. Theo is narrating this whole thing. He's watching the security cameras and like telling him where the cops are, and they're killing cops, and all of a sudden they're gonna bring in the car. Send in the car. And Theo's like, "Oh, the police have themselves an RV." I think one of the things I love about this movie so much is how much fun even the fictional characters are having.
Yeah.
I'm having fun watching it, and the good guys and the bad guys, and Reginald Bell Johnson out on the street is making quips to his boss. Like, everybody's here having a good time.
He turns coat real quick. You wonder what his background is, where he basically just shows up. He hits it off really quick with John McClane. They become man lovers quite quickly. They tell each other that they love each other, or at least Carl tells him how much he loves him. And he immediately starts giving his boss a whole bunch of crap. Then this is where we have our first interaction with, I don't remember the boss's name. What's the head cop? The principal from Van Wilder.
The principal from Breakfast Club? Oh,
I can't remember what his
conflating. Name. It's Dwayne, but I can't remember what his last name is.
So he's like, give me that thing. So he starts screaming at, so they've rocket
Dwayne T. Robinson.
Is it really? Dwayne?
Well, yeah, because Dwayne T. Robinson. Because I remember Dwayne because McClane says to him after the explosion, "I'm not the one who just got butt fucked on national TV."
That's where I was going. He says Dwayne?
Yes.
That's hilarious. All right, let's keep things moving, Gary.
Like the explosion scene. So at the point where Hans and his henchmen blow up the SWAT truck
twice,
McClane gets pissed, and Bruce Willis isn't going to stand for it no more. And he's got this leftover C4 he just came across on his mission through the levels.
As one does.
He randomly sticks detonators because he doesn't know how they work into the C4. Straps it to an old computer monitor and tosses it down an elevator shaft. Miraculously, this one stick of C4 causes what appears to be somewhere between 8 to 12 explosions.
I feel like it would. I actually feel like that was realistic. Apparently, C4 is quite devastating.
It's one explosive, though. Yes, I'm sure it could cause the destruction of that entire floor, but it should be one concussion, one explosion.
Are you suggesting that the tower had jet fuel strapped to the...
Oh, it had some type of accelerant. Maybe that was the propane tank storage floor that it hit, but it definitely caused a hell of a lot of damage.
Floor?
Well, you know how high rises, how
Lucky
propane
number
tank
13.
storage floors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. It just... When this starts to go wrong and he blows up the thing, and now Dwayne Robinson is outside and he's super pissed, and they realize how serious this is getting, and they're going to call in the FBI. And now Hans is getting pissed because they're losing C4 and they've lost the detonators, and this guy's no longer just a little bug in the works. He's actually actively ruining their plans. Sort of Hans's veneer of calm and cool starts to come down, right? Ellis has his little scene where he comes in to talk to Hans, and he's going to talk John McClane down from up on his higher floors where he's causing all these problems.
He's a negotiator. He negotiates business deals, so why would this be any different?
And he's amazing. He's an all-time douchebag. He's the Daniel Day-Lewis of shitheads.
Oh, wow.
He's so good at being so hateable. You are perfectly okay with the fact that he's about to get killed. Mm-hmm. And when John McClane says, these guys are going to kill you, you as the viewer, I feel, are like, yeah, kill him.
Let him.
Kill him.
Let him.
It's
Stop.
fine.
Don't warn him.
And then, so Hans executes another guy, but then he screams into the radio, do you want me to shoot another one? Like, that veneer of calm is coming down, right? Hans is sort of showing his teeth here, and he's really, this is, we're starting to see why he became such an iconic villain.
Yep. Well, I don't know where you want to go from here. I want to we should keep it moving.
We got to wrap it up. Okay, so from here, like just in terms of the rest of my notes from this scene going forward, we always do this where we get into the climaxes of these movies.
Yep.
And I take fewer and fewer notes.
Me too.
Because
That's exactly where I'm at too.
The FBI shows up, and you start to see everybody's plan now in full focus, right? Mm-hmm. So Hans tells we, the viewer, about the plan to take the hostages up to the roof and then blow the roof, including the transport helicopters with the FBI agents in it. And they're going to spend so much time sifting through the rubble that they're never even going to notice that they didn't get us, and we'll already be gone.
Yeah. And
meanwhile, you get the FBI guys' plans that, oh, we're not coming. We're going to tell them we're giving us helicopters, but we're not coming with transports. We're coming with fully armed gunships. And John McClane's still got his plan to get his wife back by any means necessary. And you start to see the climax coming in the sense that all these roads have to a certain point converge.
The climax is it's what, Gary? The climax is what?
Climax is coming. You can read that.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
the funny thing is, I'm realizing how little we actually talk about John McClane in this. Like, there really is, like, he is clearly the star in this movie. He's the lead role, but there's so much happening around him that's why this movie is as good as it is. It doesn't really lean on any one person. It's the amalgamation of it all that really is magical. It's a great point.
I've obviously, as many times as I've seen it, I'm curious exactly how much screen time Bruce Willis has, because again, it's a compliment to McTiernan's work here, where he's kind of showing you the entire world that they've built around this tower, right? There's all these dynamics going on about the lack of information. Like you say, you've got the CB spreading information around and kind of being used for exposition to we, the viewer, as well. And like I say, it seems so expansive. It seems like such a big story, even though it's happening all in one night and all in one venue. And I think that's a tribute to the script and, like I say, the director. But at this point, when we get to the end of the movie and you have your big showdown between Carl and John McClane, and it kind of feels, again, you could, if you were trying to nitpick this movie,
this is video game boss battle stuff.
Yeah, it's a boss level, right? And it's also a bit James Bondish in the sense that it's like, you've had multiple opportunities to kill this guy. You've been talking about desperately you want to kill this guy. You shot at him with a machine gun very poorly in multiple instances, like and now you've got him dead to rights. behind his back, and you turn off the radio and say, "This is personal. Let's fight."
Monologue,
and it's like,
yep.
it's absolutely a bad Bond kill. And so you get that battle, which is interesting, but again, not the actual end. And I really like that part of it as well, where this would normally be in an Avengers movie now. This would be like a secondary hero fighting a secondary boss, and then Iron Man or Captain America would be upstairs fighting Hans, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now you've got it almost as an Enter the Dragon type level building, right? So he has that fight. He goes up to the roof. He's trying to save the hostages, but he fires his gun to get them to move, and now the warship
fire upon himself.
He draws fire upon himself, like everything's going sideways, and he runs back. And Robot T-1000 Carl has been hanging now for at least 2 to 4 minutes.
Like, not long enough.
No, apparently not long enough. And then it all sort of comes down with the explosion on the roof, and all the hostages coming back downstairs, and John getting driven back into the building to where Hans and the remaining terrorists are.
Yeah. It's
all going to come to a head, right? And I think one of the best moments that Hans here has in the movie is coming up right here, where Bonnie Bedelia, Holly Gennaro, figures out that this is all about a robbery, and she starts sort of snarking him about, you're nothing but a common thief. And he gets in her face and just says, "I am an exceptional thief."
Mm-hmm.
And it's so well acted by Rickman in that moment.
Yeah, totally. And so this is, I hate rushing through it. I hate to do that to you, but this is such a great movie. We always get hung up at the start. We'll go right to the end here. The fall that Alan Rickman, just the classic. I think it's probably been parodied of probably 100 times, of him barely hanging on, and then he's just falling from the building. And what's the line as soon as he hits the ground? I feel like there's a got to be one of those last
Dwayne T. Robinson, when he hits the ground, says, I can't remember what he says. "Oh, I hope that wasn't a hostage," is all he says. "Oh, I hope that wasn't
it."
a
Okay,
hostage.
yeah, I'm like, I feel like that was the line. So I apologize. I blanked on that one a little bit. So
no, the great line he has on the ground is when they blow the roof with the helicopter up there, and he just casually says, "We're gonna need some more FBI guys."
It's awesome.
That's Dwayne T. Robinson's big line.
That's awesome.
But yeah, the fall, an iconic moment in film. I absolutely love it. So really,
and the Rolex watch.
This is where my big movie nerddom comes in. I've watched the special features on this movie multiple times. That's why I bought so many copies, because I've actually owned 5 different copies of Die Hard on Blu-ray and DVD over the years, because I wanted to see if they had more special content. And one of the things was all framing around just this particular scene, and how, the Rolex watch that was teased earlier, just like Argyle's CB radio is going to become important later, her watch is going to become important later. It's what is keeping them from winning in this moment, and McClane releases it, and you get this really honest reaction out of Gruber's face, because he's raising his gun up to take one of them with him when the watch clasp lets go and he gets released. And so Rickman did an actual fall. It was only, I believe, something like 10 to 12 feet onto a mat, but they actually held him over a big giant pillow and got his actual face when he fell, and then they switched to the long shot of an actual stuntman doing, I believe they say 30 in the movie, but I think he did like a 20-story fall onto one of those truss pillows from fire rescues, right? And I love the practical effect there. I love that you've got an actual human being, not a dummy. You see him waving his arms and everything.
Totally, because they celebrate that moment actually quite well, and that really holds up. Those are the types of moments that don't really stand well to the test of time, where like this effect that they're trying to show, and it just falls flat. But it totally, because it was real. Like, because they actually dropped him, like you said, 10, 15 feet, and then they had another guy drop in the whole way. Like, those, that you can't, if you're not faking it, then it looks real, and it totally stands up, and I love that. So,
yeah, and they let Al Powell's face sort of show you the impact. He winces at the moment of impact. It's a really, really great climax, right? And that fall was really, really good. And then we get into more of the kitschy, like, this movie is sort of like, why did you have to do things this way? Because the movie's now sort of at an end. We've had our great finish. He saved the girl. He got his wife back. We go outside. The bromance is complete between McClane and Al Powell. They meet each other. Neither of them got catfished. They met eyes, and it really was the man of their dreams. And now you have to have Robot Carl come back out just so we can have the moment to pay off Al Powell's story about not being able to draw his gun. He saves his new best friend by executing Carl and drawing his 6-shooter.
Yeah, classic shot of the smoking gun and like, oh, who shot that? Oh, it is Carl, but not really Carl because Carl's dead. But Carl that we know from Family Matters is the killer.
Yeah, you shift the focus off the barrel of the gun to Al Powell's face.
Yeah.
And then Argyle, who spent the entire movie, even after he discovered there's a terrorist attack going on in the parking garage, just like, now apparently it's okay to smash the gate. Again, we started the movie with this, we're ending with it. Why didn't you just do that in the first place? Why didn't you just send McClane up to the 30th floor? And why didn't Argyle just peace out through one of the security gates as soon as he found out shit was going down?
That would be the worst movie ever. Then we would not be giving this a 5 out of 5, and it would not have changed the world. That's why.
These little things are what make this movie special.
Mm-hmm.
And then we end with Let It Snow, just so you remember, Merry Christmas.
By the way,
this is a Christmas movie.
Christmas movie. Watch this every December, folks.
It's absolutely glorious. And when it ended, I wondered if watching it with a critical eye and taking notes and having to comment on the parts that are flawed and stuff like that would limit my enjoyment of this movie in some way, even after viewings of the movie in 3 digits. And no, it did not. Number 126 was just as fun as number 2 was. I love this movie, and I'm glad we watched it. And honestly, I can't wait for Christmas season to be here. And when we take a break from 6 to 8 DOC to do like theme movies, I'll be like, yeah, let's watch a Christmas movie. Let's watch Die Hard again.
That's a really good idea. We'll break the chain for some Christmas. I'm not even calling it a holiday. You know what? It's Christmas.
Yeah.
So do you want to find out what we're doing next week?
Yeah, let's do it. So that's it for 6 Degrees of Chill. Like I say, you heard our 5 out of 5s at the beginning. Thank you so much for suggesting this movie last week. I had a great time watching it. I hope you guys watched along with us. And I hope you watch along with us here in the future. Sean's going to tell us what beat out Howard the Duck for the gold medal for the Dark Knight Steelbook. One of you fans who've done such a great job of sending us your suggestions every week, and some of you are sharing. You're going to win the Dark Knight movie, and you're going to win your selection as the movie we talk about on next week's 6 Degrees of Chill. Sean, why don't you tell the winner who they are and what movie we're watching next week?
Well, this shipping is going to cost me a whole boatload of money because I'm going to have to ship this Blu-ray DVD all the way to Edmonton, Alberta for, let's see, it's not Thane. Nope. It's not Matt. It's not Corey. It is Blair Hamilton. You win with your suggestion of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Wow.
I don't know how this is going to work out. I don't have a huge love for this. I don't remember hating it. We definitely got the better, I think, of the two Bill and Ted's movies.
You like Excellent Adventures more than Bogus Adventures?
I remember Bogus being quite bogus indeed. So thank you so much to Blair for sharing. You had double the chances because you submitted and then you shared. So you did yourself a favor. You get The Dark Knight on the Blu-ray disc. So we will be in touch for all of the UPS logistics and business such as that.
There you go. Well, congrats
so that is
to
6
Blair.
Degrees of Chill, a successful selection for Blair.
Congrats to Blair, and I love the thematic shift from Die Hard to Bill and Ted, and I love to see where we're going to go with Keanu and all the other stars of Bill and Ted. I know there are other stars, but that's
Prince
all
the Thief showed up like 6 times on this list, thanks to guys like Corey Hicks, me. There's a couple other people who put this on here. So we had other ways we could have gone with this, but this was meant to happen. This is the way that the gods saw it.
Would not have gone wrong with Kevin Costner at any point. So, but I'm excited to watch Bill and Ted's and talk about a comedy again.
Yep.
And I guess the only thing that's left to do is figure out what new movie we're going to go see in the theaters next week.
Indeed.
And what do we have for options this week?
My goodness, does this mean that we actually did not prepare for this part? Hang on a second, people.
We absolutely did not.
Let me pull up Flixster.com.
Movies opening this week, we do not have that many.
Okay,
new
Girl
options.
on the Train, The Birth of a Nation.
Oh, yes.
Middle School, The Something Something Phantasm, Voyage of Time, Let's see. None of this
Yeah,
looks
no,
really that great.
it's definitely
What
going to
is
be
this
Girl on a
week?
Train or Birth of a Nation. So, Birth of a Nation, we're getting into Oscar season, and we are going to have to wrap our heads around talking about some real serious fare, right? And Birth of a Nation is a story that's been in development for a long, long time about slavery in the United States. At the sort of creation of the country, it's written and directed by a young black actor who's got a history and has been in the news for some issues in his personal life. This is his first major release. It got a giant buy at, I believe, the Toronto International Film Festival, where it was viewed before it had distribution. It is supposed to be a front runner for Best Picture this year, before all the controversy about it came out. So that would be a very interesting watch for us. But Girl on a Train is a movie we've guessed the Rotten Tomatoes score on the previews, and looks like sort of something in the Gone Girl vein from a couple years ago, and would something that would be really fun to go see in the theaters. So either one of those, I think, would be a great choice for us. Do you have a preference, or are we flipping a coin?
Let us. Do you want to flip a coin?
Let's do it.
Do you have a coin flip app?
I literally have a coin flip app on my iPhone to allow us to flip coins. So we're going to assign Lady Liberty here as tails to the Birth of a Nation, hashtag American themed. And then we'll go Girl on Train for heads. And I'm flipping the coin now. And we got tails. Birth of a Nation.
I also have an app that does stuff.
I don't think we're going to do morning radio air horn bits when we talk about the Birth of a Nation. I have a
Might as well do it now.
There's going to be some pretty heavy stuff next week. And luckily, we'll talk about Birth of a Nation and then Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Thank you, Blair. Oh, wow, that worked out perfectly.
That'll be good to lighten that up after we talk about that. So I am looking forward to it. We should not just concentrate on movies that we love for their fun and lightheartedness, especially heading into Oscar season here in the winter. We're going to be talking about some real serious fare and getting into some grittier, more honest films. We're going to stop talking about movies and start talking about films for a little while in this series, and less about the Civil Wars and Doctor Stranges of the world. So I'm looking forward to that. I want to thank everybody so much for watching and listening again this week. We've got a couple things to wrap up here. Like I say, you can follow us on Twitter at Gary T Movies, at Sean Capri. You can follow the site at We the Nerdy. We have the YouTube channel, youtube.com/We the Nerdy, and you can always go to the site proper. Go visit We the Nerdy. Check out all the new content we're putting up there all the time. It's terrific. Sean, what's going up on the site? You got anything new coming out this week?
I will be playing a part in something that's going up this week. A video game you may have heard of, Gears of War 4, comes out. So I will be talking to the guy who runs We the Nerdy, Andrew Semichek. We're going to do kind of like a review kind of discussion on that. So if you are interested in Gears of War at all, check that out. Other than that, I don't think so. I still do if we're at Nintendo. So if you like video games, there's tons of stuff that I'm doing on the side before baby comes. And by the way, some people learned about Chelsea and I having a baby through the show, which I think is amazing. So thank you for everybody for reaching out. It means a lot to have everybody kind of just like giving us high fives over text messages and whatnot. So it was just kind of a neat little thing. I'm like, oh, look at that. That's how the word is getting out. It's because people are putting us in their eardrums and we're talking about real life.
Beautiful
it's
thing.
Very nice. Yeah, so thank you very much.
I want to congratulate you again.
Thank you.
I think all of our listeners should be excited. I think all of our listeners should be excited for the week when the 6 Degree of Chill winner wins the right to name Sean's baby. I think that's going to be fantastic.
You can pick the third middle name.
The third middle name?
Yeah. First two are taken already.
After Yoshinobu?
And Gary.
Oh, fantastic.
Whether it's a boy or girl.
Oh, I like that even better.
Yeah.
So, with that said, we want to thank you guys so much for listening. We want to thank the guys over at We the Nerdy for letting us do this all the time. It's the greatest. I couldn't be happier. And we will talk to you guys next week.
Love you.